Hello, everyone. Welcome to Take a Chance Ranch. We're so excited to be here with the Open Space Authority and Anna Marie, who's filming with us today. And we're going to spend some time together here at the ranch in Morgan Hill. I'm Beth Killow. And this is the ranch that I live on with my human animal family and a herd of horses and a small pack of border collies and a little flock of sheep and all kinds of adventures. And we wanted to spend some time with you all today and work on some physical, emotional, spiritual wellness, which all of us need right now during this very extraordinary, unusual, and stressful time of COVID-19 coronavirus crisis. And I think what I've been hearing a lot of is that being outdoors and moving has been incredibly healing for people. And so we're going to spend some time today exploring and talking about that, and also engaging in some practices that you can do even right outside your front door, which is why we're starting here at our front door. And just to step back for a moment to introduce myself a little more thoroughly, I'm a licensed therapist, and I'm also a leadership coach, and I do culture development with groups of all different kinds, teams, large organizations, corporations, nonprofits, higher education, and healthcare systems. And all of the lessons around leadership and wellness, including mental health, that I have learned along the way, the core lessons really come from nature and the animals. And so I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you about more of some details around that and to share some practices with you all. And I hope along the way, when you have questions and comments, you can go ahead and type them into the comment section. Let us know what you're wanting some help with, or what's troubling you during this time, and we may even be able to share some practices that you can do regardless of what kind of setting you're in. So I'm going to pause and see if Anna Marie wants me to circle back to anything specifically. Are we?
No, I think we're good.
Okay?
That's a great intro.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
okay.
and I'm sure more people will join us down the way. So we want to just kind of like talk about that every now and then.
Continue to talk about that.
Yeah.
This is Georgie, my administrative assistant, and you'll see her, and Glenn, and you'll see them popping in regularly to check in, and so one of the things that I wanted us to do at the front door was just to remind ourselves as human animals, which we are, mammals of the human variety. Glenn's like, that's right. One of the ways that we're able to reset our nervous systems is just to step outside. And I remember my daughter Emma, who's standing right over here, not just a little too shy to come onto camera quite yet, but I'm sure you'll see her in a bit. But when she was a baby and she was really like starting to melt down at different times of the day, I just intuitively knew to go outside. And that might have been part of my own self-care. But usually as soon as we would step outside, even if it was just stepping out the door, but just to like open the door and step outside your house can start to reset our mental space, our emotional space, and it actually affects our nervous system. So when we change our environment, it causes our brain to actually have to intake new information. And so what that does is it basically is like pressing Control-Alt-Delete on your computer. It's like unplugging your system and plugging it back in. So we have this beautiful, very accessible way of just changing our surroundings in order to change our state of mind. So one of the things that Anna Marie and I were talking about before we started on live today was that regardless of where you are, we actually can connect with nature. So it starts with connecting with the nature within. So if you think of yourself as a human animal and you have this natural capacity to be connected to your world, and it has all this instinct flowing. All of those instincts know exactly what you need. Our human mind and all of its thinking actually interferes. It's a little bit of a glitch in our system. It interferes with those instincts, sometimes in good ways, like stops us from like acting like monkeys when we're trying to be villagers, but it also interferes in negative ways. So when our instincts are telling us, I need a break, or I need to step outside, or I need to move, our mind will tell us to keep doing the thing that we're doing because we think that it's necessary. And so part of starting at a front door exercise is just realizing that anywhere you are, whether it's an urban setting, a suburban setting, or even if you get to live in a more natural setting like we have here, you can step outside without having to go into the great wild outdoors and start to engage with nature. So as I step outside right now and start to tune in and look around, I'm noticing, and this is a practice just called noticing things and being a noticer of things. I notice it feels really good to be outside. That feels very good inside of me. And then I start to look around and I see this beautiful sun coming through the tree. And I can start to feel the wind a little bit on my skin, and that feels very refreshing. And now I'm going to tune in, and I'm hearing a lot of birds that I wasn't hearing before because I was talking and thinking. And this beautiful olive tree to my left is just, I picked this olive tree to plant here because they're such peaceful trees, the color and their movement, and I'm just watching this very gentle breeze. I didn't even know it was there, but it is. And it's just moving it, and I can start to feel myself sync up with that sun and those birds and that little bit of breeze touching my skin and that little bit of movement in the olive branches. And I am now starting to feel more connected to it. I'm hearing a little bit more breeze pick up in the pine tree, and right over by that pine tree, I was once grooming one of my horse's tails, and I was quiet enough to hear the pine needles, and then I realized that if you're quiet on a windy day, you can actually hear all different kinds of notes of music through a horse's tail. So stepping outside and allowing yourself to actually connect with what's going on just in this little front door experience, I now feel more connected to my front porch, which, as you can see, is not like the largest space. It's not, we are gifted and fortunate to live on some acreage, but even right here where I do come often just to step outside and get a little bit of stabilization, I'm allowing this natural setting to actually impact me, and I'm engaging with it so that I can let it touch me, and I start to settle in to myself and settle into this spot. And honestly, it makes me want to just say, like, you know what, Anna Marie, let's just stay here. Like, do we really, like, I kind of want to just sit down and cuddle with my dogs. And so when we slow down our pace to enjoy where we are, we can often find a lot of peace in what's around us.
Love it.
Any questions or?
Terry's introducing everyone, which is great.
Yay.
Just reintroducing our crowd to you.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, and so maybe just a little preview of what we're gonna do today.
So one of the things I love about being on the ranch is I never really know what we're gonna do, and I think actually that part of us as human animals, sometimes we really love planning and structure, and it's part of how we organize ourselves. The Buddhist nun Pema Chodron says that anxiety is the human experience of wide open space. And so too much of that can create a lot of anxiety for us. So we do need a little bit of structure, but too much structure is like wearing shoes that are too tight. And we bump up against it in ways that hurt. And right now, because of this really unique way that we're having to live, we're much more aware of some of those pressures. And so one of the things that I love about the natural world of animals and the outdoors, and also the natural world inside of us, is that it has a desire to have that structure, but also to have an expansiveness to explore and adventure and allow the spontaneous and the unpredictable to emerge. So I don't know exactly, but my sense is that we're just going to take a walkabout and like see where we are called to pause and notice things together. And also see if the animals tell us what we might need. See, Georgie's already saying, let's get a move on. Yeah, we do. We've done some, been experimenting with some different mindfulness hikes and learning to slow our pace so that we can actually get more aligned with the pace of the natural world. And when we do that, we're actually able to notice things and take them in and connect with ourselves, connect with each other, and then connect with the world around us. And so I really learned that lesson first and foremost from my animals, and they often have slowed me down. Sometimes with the horses, it's meant like dumping me on my butt to get me to slow down. And I've had some really big wake-up calls along the way in life that my animals have taught me around just how unsustainable our human pace is. And I think a lot of us right now are really experiencing that, and it's hard because we have to learn some new practices, and that can be, we start to realize how much that pace and not having enough outdoors and movement, how much that's really affected us.
And one of our partners at Saved by Nature, they just said how much they love the name Take a Chance Ranch.
Oh, so the name came from a horse of mine named Chance, who was an incredible teacher of mine, and he was purchased by somebody and then put in a motorcycle junkyard, and so everyone said he was a rescue horse, but his story is actually that he broke out of the motorcycle junkyard and he ran away, and then he broke into a pasture with a bunch of other horses, and so he actually he rescued himself. And I love his story so much because I think it's a great reminder to us around how we can take care of ourselves and create the environment that we need. His resulted in a bunch of injury and he got hurt, but he found his way to a horse life that he needed. And so and it's very much my story. And so my life story is similar to Chance's, and so I named the ranch after that. So one of the great lessons from animals about ourselves as human animals is they always take care of themselves. And the human animal, we kind of cut corners around that. We talk ourselves out of what we need, whereas the animals are always giving themselves what they need. Like, Moonshine didn't come over here and say like, well, I guess I can get that drink of water later, or, maybe I don't know if my friend Riva thinks it's okay for me to get the water, or he's not judging himself. He's not questioning anyone else. He just has the need and he goes and he takes care of that. And so I think right now, especially, when we think about our self-care, we really have to go back to the basics and follow our body and follow that natural body and take some lessons from nature and the animals, and slowing down enough to tune in with, what am I needing today and what feels good in my body. Yeah. So in the last couple of weeks, as we've been so focused on our basic needs and our needs, we've had to go much more internal because we're internal in our homes. It calls attention to ways that maybe we've been neglecting needs. And so what we were talking about with Moonshine and with the horses, they're always attending to their needs. We have this opportunity right now. Are you able to see it? Sorry for the folds. We have this opportunity right now to really do a lot of self-care practice. And but we have to slow down a little bit to learn what those needs are. But they fall into these categories around the body, our emotions, our creative needs, relational needs, spiritual needs, mind, and work. And this is a work in progress, this graphic and this tool. So it's only 2 weeks old. I'm still working on it, but I wanted to share it because I've been using it for myself and with people that I work with to try and help people get clearer about what they need to attend to, and actually learning how to go through this inventory. It looks like a lot of questions, but as you do it a few times, you just become pretty fluent in them. And we actually need to tune in with our self-care all day. So just like with the animals, they're tuning in to what they individually need, what they need relationally and as a group so that they can stay together as a herd, and how to move through the rhythm of the day. And so if you spend any time just being in the natural world and observing animals interacting in the natural world with each other, it's really a great lesson in attending to self-care. And so, but as humans, we have to actually build in some practices and even some rituals around how to do that. And so one of mine is actually to first go, what I do in the morning, because I often find my mind get very busy, but it can kind of get out ahead of us. And so I try to do like a body check-in first. And then oftentimes it will tell me what else I need. So if, let's say, I come into the day with a lot of physical energy and a busy mind, I can then start to say, well, how can I take care of that? How can I take that busy mind and some physical energy? I'm going to go outdoors and do something outdoors, do something physical. And then oftentimes I want to take that energy and do something with it that actually, so I can express that energy versus having it stay pent up and end up creating a bunch of pressure and tension. This tree is hollow, and this big trunk is completely hollowed out, and one of our barn cats hangs out in there a lot of the time, and we discovered that because the dogs sniffed her out, and they sniffed her out through this area. And so once in a while you'll see her. We didn't even know it was hollowed out. So this tree, it probably isn't, at least this section of it, even though it's blooming and healthy this year, it's probably not going to be with us forever. But we do a lot of enjoying of it now. It's a great practice of impermanence. So this creek last year was completely full and had a family of ducks living in it. And this year and the year before.
No, in 2017.
In 2017, we had so much water it blew out this bridge. And this year we had no water and no ducks. If you frequent a park that is your favorite, you'll start to see, especially if you're paying close attention and doing some of those noticing practices, you'll see from one year to the next the landscape change. And I love to take that reflection and turn that inward and think about, what do I notice that's changed in me from last year? And what do I notice in the natural world, and that we have the same landscape changes in our inner world. And it's also hopeful, because if there's something that I'm experiencing right now that's difficult, I try to use those moments in nature to remember that whatever it is that's happening right now is going to change. And nature is such a great example of that ever-changing dynamic piece. And it's such a great reminder when it, like, even right now where it feels like, well, we're going to live in quarantine forever. And it's actually like just for now, and that everything is changing. And sometimes the developments that are happening are actually, there's incredible lessons there. I think one of the great thing about having animals in our lives is they are wonderful reminders to us about our own needs. And so the need to be outdoors and moving is an essential basic need of the human animal. And so in the same way that we would charge people with like animal abuse, if they stuck a dog inside and never let it out, we can't really do that to ourselves. And so I think allowing our animals to hold us accountable to our own needs, and we of course may be inclined to take them out to walk them, but remember that you may be doing that for you as well. And so let it be a self-care practice and an other care practice. So a lot of times we'll focus on what others need and we get out ahead of ourselves and not let it be a self-care practice. So that's one piece. And then the other is our animals will remind us when our pace is too fast or too slow. They'll remind us if we have tension. So if we look for it in our animals, they're giving us feedback, and because they're trying to take care of themselves. And so they will give us feedback about how to try to keep us a little bit more balanced. And so look for that in what your animals are telling you about you. And that's, I think, that self-care piece, and then also letting them be teachers and guides, especially right now, because we're much more connected to we have been before. We're in safety, basic need mode, which is, it's in some ways, it's an incredibly painful and scary experience where a lot of us feel very out of control, but it is also an exquisite learning opportunity about the very basics of our human experience. And so we don't want to miss that. We don't want to miss that opportunity to learn those lessons. We're going to talk a little bit about sitting meditation and walking meditation.
Great.
And outdoor meditation, which is the magic. Okay. Like, where are the places, and they might be in your yard, on your patio, right outside your front door, on a street where you live, but a spot where your body just feels like so good. It just feels comfortable. It feels at peace. Like, paying attention to, like, your body will tell you what it needs and what it likes. And then marking that, we have a practice called like marking the moment and letting that be a resource that you keep going back to and then you know that you have it when you need it, especially if you can do that and right now we really are asked to do that in our close proximity, finding those places. So I have these little spots all over my house and outside of the house, and then on the ranch that are my go-to places, and especially in the outdoors, go-to places. So you might have those favorite hiking trails, favorite park, but right now we have to find those closer to home. And so the great thing about that is it makes us appreciate, honor, and form a closer, more intimate relationship with the nature that's right here with us. Emma found a good spot for herself over there. And so, oh, is this funny? So this is a great moment. So Emma found a spot for herself in the sun, and Georgie went to check on her and then put herself in the shade. So it's a great example of self-care in relationship. She wanted to keep an eye on her, which you can see she's doing. She's also got some scope here. So Georgie's using the hill to be able to keep an eye on Emma and the sheep and the horses. So she picked, that was a very strategic spot. So pay attention to where you put yourself, because your body is actually telling you, it's actually telling you what it needs. And that's why the kids and the animals are such great teachers, because they're just showing us this. It has to start with self-care. It has to start with what we need to give ourselves, and then to communicate that and express that so that we can find ways to be, to share space and be in our relationships. I had like a love-hate relationship with meditation that was mostly hate, and and I've learned in the last 3 years to really love it, and it's been through doing it outdoors, and then also honoring that my body needs a transition from the busyness of human life into a quieter place, and that I get that transition from moving. And so a labyrinth is a great place to be able to, or a walking meditation area, and we'll show you here. A labyrinth is like a maze, basically, and it's a contained pilgrimage. And you can take yourself on a little journey, and you can go into that labyrinth space with all different kinds of intentions, letting go of something that you're worried about, or a question that you're needing to answer and need solved.
the labyrinth is a great place to transition into a more mindful inner space when we can actually do it through movement. And at least in this labyrinth, I don't know what it's like in other labyrinths of the world, but my understand they've been used for centuries all over the world. But we really try to encourage people to use the labyrinth however you are inclined, that there's no rules for how to use a walking meditation space. If you don't have a labyrinth, which I'm guessing you don't, you can make your own walking meditation area. And so you could use a tree, for example, or even if you don't have a tree, you could pick a rock as a center point, and then you could create like a little bit of a perimeter. So if you look at this spot right here, it has a natural circle around it that just exists. And the tree is the center point that I might be hoping to arrive at. That's my goal. And then I could say that I'm going to do 3 circuits to make my way to that center point, starting and use this basic radius that's just the natural dirt. And so with walking meditation, and I'm going to turn this over to Eric to talk for a while. I am all talked out. But for walking meditation, you really want to let your body find its own pace. And you're going to notice how hard that is, because it takes a little while to find what it likes. And so, you know, you'll take a step and this might feel too slow. And so you'll try to speed it up, and then that feels too fast, and you'll kind of adjust until you find the right pace that feels like you can keep moving and making progress, but keep your mind centered. And so even if you don't have a labyrinth that's accessible or nearby to you, you can create your own by just making your way around a center point. And so if I was going to use this as a labyrinth to do some walking meditation, I would have just completed 1 circuit here. So then I would move into the second circuit, so a little closer lane to the center. And if you did this enough times, you'd start to feel the path even without it being there. So it starts to become an intuitive path. Another tool that you can use for walking meditation, and Eric will give you the meditation cues, but just the physical piece, is to measure out like a 10 to 12 foot path, and it's just a straight line. So if the circle feels too confusing and it's too much to think about, follow that intuition and ignore it. But pick a spot, especially if you're able to be outside, that feels really good for your body, and then measure out about a 10 to 12 foot path, and then you just do your walking meditation on that path. And when you reach the end, you pause, you notice another amazing insect, and then turn and go back to your starting point. And you can set a timer as well, so that you don't even have to think about your path. That's the goal, is I'm going to let the timer go off to tell me when it's done, and my walk is this simple. And so it's a really nice relief not having to navigate the world outside, but still just moving your body and then letting your mind settle into the body.
Yeah, well, I think wherever you are is the best place. And so, like, if you're inside, get comfortable, and if you're outside, get comfortable. There's this image of the meditator as somebody who has their knees crossed and on the ground, and their hands in a certain way, and poses. The reason that exists is because that's an effective way to sit. It's not that that's the only way, and if you don't sit in another way, or if you sit in another way that's comfortable to you, that you won't be able to meditate. Basically, like, from all the reading that I've done, the teaching seems to be, how do we sit still and slow our thinking, or turn off our thinking to the extent that that's possible, without falling asleep. You know, so we look at things like what what I'd like to suggest that you do, and what I'm going to be doing, and what I think that Beth will be doing, and is my main concentration when I sit is on my spine, is on keeping my spine as erect as possible, where I can feel my spine as if there's a handle on the top of my head, and I can grab hold of that handle and pull my head up straight, because what that does is keeps me awake. It's that simple. It keeps my awareness online, and it keeps me there aren't any more ways to say it. It keeps me from nodding off. So then at the same time, we talk about crossing our legs, and I'm doing that right now, but I don't have my legs tucked under me in some kind of like full lotus position. I just have my legs crossed in a way that feels stable. So I'm kind of like the tripod that Anna Marie is using for the camera. You know, like I have my 3 points of alignment to the ground, and then my arms, because I otherwise don't know what to do with them. They're just flopping around. They're not of much use to me right now. I like to put and this is because I've read it and I do have some reverence, is to put my right hand in my left hand. I don't know exactly why, but that keeps coming up every time. That's the best way to hold your hands. And then I let the tips of my thumbs touch. And there's a couple of reasons why I do all this. Like, one, again, is to stay awake. But another is because I've read it, I believe it was Shunryu Suzuki, who says, the posture is the meditation. Like, if you're in a collected and comfortable posture that in which you're aware, that's meditation. And then whatever happens up here in your brain is the stuff that is trying to distract or interrupt the meditation. So far I've left out the most important part, but if everybody, to the extent that they can, sit in a way that they're comfortable and aware. And then the most important part is that you're breathing. And the breath has been for me for almost 30 years. It's like the key that's my self-care. That's my happy place, is my breathing. It's the air that's coming in through my nose, hanging out for just a little bit in my body, and then like effortlessly leaving out my nose. And I put all of my meditation effort into effortlessly watching my breath go in and out through my nose. And at the same time as the breath is going in and out through your nose, you can open your eyes or close them. Pema Chodron opens her eyes. Thich Nhat Hanh closes his eyes. Neither one is better than the other. But you do what's comfortable for you. And then everyone says, keep your mouth just a little bit open. Otherwise, you'll get all like dried out, and it'll just be a distraction. Otherwise, it'll be a distraction. And the whole effort is to be not distracted from the relaxation that you're giving your brain for 5 minutes. If you want to do it for 5 minutes, I'm just going to sit here for a couple of minutes. And if anybody comes on right now, they'll see a guy sitting, and that's okay.
Do you want a guide?
Yeah, well, and then the guy, I am going to speak a little bit like as we're going through, but the main thing is, let's begin. We're in our meditation posture. So close or open your eyes. Whatever you do, whether you close them or open them, do it don't force them closed or force them open. Just kind of let them be. Your eyes are not the most important part of you right now. Your eyes, your hands, your feet, none of these things that we're so focused on when we go through our lives are really part of what's happening right now. they're all coming to rest. And check on your spine. My spine has slumped a little. Now I'm back upright. If my spine is upright, I'm going to be able to stay awake and aware and pay attention to my body and to my mind at the same time. So pay attention to your spine, and just throughout the next couple of minutes, go back and check on your mind, check on your spine again. Once you've done that, first, I want you to take 3 big breaths. Just in through your nose and out through your nose. Through your nose and out through your nose. In through your nose and out through your nose. Now that you've done that, you've kind of set the tone for yourself, which is you're relaxed, you're awake, you can hear everything that's going on around you, but you're not engaged with it, you're just hearing it. You can smell everything around you, but you're not engaging with it, you're just smelling it. If your eyes are open, you can see. That's okay. Now, I want you to focus on your next breath, but don't try to make it a big one. Don't try to do anything with it. Just wait and see that your breath happens. It comes in through your nose. How easily it comes in through your nose. And then it almost immediately turns around and leaves your body again. It comes in through your nose and it goes out. Don't hold on to it. Don't run from it. The thing about breathing, it's such a wonderful thing to be able to check in with and have it be part of your life, is that it just happens. You don't do it. You don't not do it. Breathing just happens. It originates in you. It leaves you. It's the perfect break. So, what I like to do, I work at a desk in a cubicle, and when things become stressful or I'm getting drowsy or irritated or afraid or nostalgic or creative or whatever, like the numerous things that kind of arise out of me, I check in with my body, check in with where my legs are, where my arms are, and I breathe. And it gives me so much joy. And it's something that, like, during quarantine, I've been able to do. I've been meditating in all the rooms in our house. I've meditated in the barn, meditated in the yard. Like, it just gives me so much joy to be able to inhabit my life without trying to control it. And that's something that any of us can do.
Oh yeah, and this is something so great because it just seems like that sitting meditation you can do anywhere. You could even do indoors with an open window.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about that for people that like live in like apartment buildings. Like you could absolutely open your window and sit next to an open window, and there's so much you can interact with just by being next to that open window. There's a lot of action out there and a lot of letting nature in and remembering that our desire to connect with that nature out there is actually the nature in here. and that all of the resilience and adaptations and ability for what we see happen in the natural world, that how things align themselves and are able to thrive, and we have that within. And so every time we're connecting with that outside world, we're resetting ourselves to inside, and it's just a beautiful feedback loop.
So thank you everyone for joining us today. I feel a lot more relaxed, and what Beth was saying at the beginning is just so important, that even if you just have a front porch to go out on, feel free to just step outside, sit down, take 5-10 minutes, listen to what's around you. We're going to keep bringing you lots of content on our Wellness Wednesdays with meditation and listening meditation and poetry, just to make sure you're connecting with yourselves and with nature. And your animals if you have animals. So please join us again for these virtual experiences. We're going to keep having more virtual live stream hikes, wellness experiences like this. We're going to do some more art like we did last Tuesday. So you can always head over to our programs page. It's openspaceauthority.org/events. And we hope to see you next time. So thanks for tuning in.